Hey y'all, welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. On Mondays, I like to keep it extra simple. So I picked up these croissants from the Walmart bakery and I'm going to be turning those into some chicken bacon ranch sandwiches. So ignore my big arm here all up in your face, but all I'm doing is taking a serrated knife and I'm splitting these croissants down the middle. And I'm going to be doing all of this on a piece of tin foil so you don't even have to dirty up an extra dish. Next, I'm going to plop down some ranch, more poured out than what I wanted, but luckily we are ranch lovers around here. So I just took a butter knife and I spread that out evenly. And then next, I'm going to lay down a slice of this Sargento sharp cheddar cheese. Next comes the rotisserie seasoned chicken breast by Great Value. I highly recommend this lunch meat if you haven't tried it. It has great flavor, but if you didn't want to use deli meat, you could of course use some cooked and shredded chicken. So lastly, I'm going to lay down 2 slices of cooked bacon, put that top back on, and I'm going to wrap this up in foil and bake it at 350 degrees for 15 minutes. So this was a huge hit. It was so delicious, and it is perfect for busy nights. To go along with it, I made some of these potato wedges by Great Value. I cooked those in my air fryer, and there's actually air fryer instructions on the back of this package, which I think is pretty neat. And then I also just have a fruit cup with some fresh pineapple and some fresh cherries on the side. On Tuesday, I made some soup beans in my Instant Pot. So I have it on the saute function, and I have added in 2 tablespoons of butter and let that melt. You're supposed to cook some onions in the butter, but I'm sure a lot of you guys know that I do not eat onions, so I just left that out. And then I added in a half a pound of country ham, and I'm just kind of breaking it up here. Then I'm going to add in 1 cup of water and season it with some onion powder, and I'm going to let that boil for 5 minutes. This is supposed to really bring out that ham flavor. And then I'm going to add in 1 pound of dried pinto beans, followed by 10 cups of water. I did end up doubling this recipe because I wanted to have plenty of leftovers. So I'm just going to give that a quick stir, and then I'm going to add in plenty of black pepper. Then I'm going to pop my lid on, make sure that it's set to sealing, and I'm going to let that cook on high pressure for 40 minutes, and then I let it natural release, which took a little over 30 minutes. And here is what it looked like at that point. I'm going to turn it back on saute, and I'm going to let it boil for an additional 10 minutes. I'm just waiting for these soup beans to finish up, but to go along with that, I have also made some cornbread. I just used a box of this Miracle Maize sweet cornbread mix. I got this a while back for super cheap, like less than 50 cents with a coupon over at Kroger's, and it's just been chilling in my pantry for a while, and I figured that today would be the perfect day to finally use that up. I do like sweet cornbread, but when it comes to soup beans, I do prefer unsweet, but it'll be fine. And then back here, I just heated up some spinach, just using a can of this Popeye chopped spinach. My mom always serves this with her soup beans, and I absolutely love it. So when these finish up, I'll come back and show you everything plated up. Lastly, I added in a good amount of salt. I've always heard that if you put your salt in too early in the cooking process, it can make your beans tough. So that's why I did it at the end. And here is my bowl. It turned out so yummy, and I had plenty to freeze so I can whip that out on a busy night and be good to go. I always take my cornbread and crumble it up into my bowl of beans. I'm sure that a lot of you guys do that as well. I did that for the kids, and I also mixed in some spinach for them, and they both devoured it. So I was super happy about that. Up next, I'm making a homemade Alfredo sauce. This is the same recipe that I always use. So I start by melting a stick of butter, and then I'm going to be tossing in some minced garlic, followed by 2 tablespoons of cream cheese, and then a pint of heavy whipping cream. So I'm just going to let all of that come together, and then I'm going to be adding in 1 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. And I'm just going to stir that until it all melts. It takes no time at all. And I'm just going to let my sauce simmer for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to turn off my heat and season it with salt and pepper. One time before, I added in my salt way too early, and it made my sauce break, so I don't do that anymore. So I decided to use some bow tie pasta this time. On top of that, I'm going to be adding in some broccoli that I just steamed in the microwave. It is by Great Value. You just pop the bag in and cook it for 4.5 minutes. Super easy. I would suggest to season your broccoli at this point, but I kind of forgot. And then next, I'm just going to ladle on a good amount of that sauce. If you wanted to cut out the carbs, obviously you could just leave out the pasta and just have a big bowl of that broccoli with that Alfredo sauce, and I think that would make the perfect meal. So I just topped my bowl with plenty of extra black pepper. This is one of my favorite recipes, one of my absolute favorite things to make. Even Josh and the kids love it, so it's always a winner. So that was our dinner for Wednesday. On Thursday, I made some chicken wings in my air fryer. This is the easiest thing to make. So all I do is take a paper towel and I just pat off all of that excess moisture. And then I'm going to place all of those wings into my air fryer basket and I'm going to cook those at 400 degrees for 30 minutes. And I am going to shake those about halfway through. So meanwhile, I went ahead and got started on my asparagus. So I just chopped off those woody ends and then I'm going to take off the rubber band and place those into a pan. Then I'm going to add in 1 cup of water, place my lid on, and I'm going to turn my heat on to high and I'm going to let that cook for about 6 to 7 minutes. It's going to steam like crazy and then I just kind of discard any of the excess water. And then normally I would add in butter here, but I was out, so I just substituted olive oil and I seasoned it with some garlic sea salt as well as some black pepper. And I'm just going to saute that around for about a minute or two. And then I'm going to take some Parmesan cheese and I am just going to grate that over the top. This is my absolute favorite way to prepare asparagus. I have been trying different ways here lately, in the oven, in the air fryer, on the grill. They're all good, but like I said, this is the best way in my opinion. So now back to the wings. I'm going to be coating them in some of this Parmesan garlic wing sauce. As you can see, those wings got so nice and crispy. I did go a little overboard with the sauce, but it was about to expire, and as you guys know, I don't like to waste. But anyways, I'm just taking a big spoon, and I'm just tossing all of these wings to coat, and that is it. These were so delicious. Just like the bottle says, it tasted garlicky. I could taste the Parmesan, and it had a nice kick to it. The asparagus turned out perfect, as always, and then I also just have a sweet potato on the side. And I just sprinkled that with a little bit of cinnamon and some brown sugar. On Friday, I made some meatloaf meatballs. So in this mixing bowl, I just have 1 pound of ground beef. I'm going to be seasoning that up with this McCormick Grill Mates Montreal steak seasoning. I'm also going to be seasoning it with some onion powder. You'll also need some milk and some quick oats. And the recipe didn't call for an egg, but I decided to add one in. So I'm just going to get all of this mixed together. So as you guys can probably already tell, this mixture was extremely wet, which made it pretty hard to work with. I thought for sure this was going to be a fail, but I was determined and I just kept on keeping on and I made it work. So I just kind of plopped it down on the plate and formed it into little circles, and I repeated that until all of that mixture was gone. And the recipe did say to stick the plate into the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes, which is what I did, and it did help a little bit. So meanwhile, I went ahead and got started on the sauce. So to my bowl, I'm adding in 2/3 cup of ketchup. I'm also going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, followed by 4 teaspoons of sugar. I use brown sugar, but the recipe called for white. But when it comes to meatloaf, I do prefer to use the brown. And then next, I'm going to be adding in 4 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. And it is extremely dark because I was at the end of that bottle. And it did change the whole color of the sauce, but that's okay. And then lastly, I'm just adding in some onion powder. And I'm just going to whisk all of that together really well. And that is it for the sauce. I'm just going to kind of stick that to the side, and I'll be using that in a little bit. So to my cast iron skillet, I'm adding in about a tablespoon of vegetable oil. And then I'm just going to add in all of those meatballs. Like I said, the freezer kind of helped, but I still kind of had a little bit of a time here, but I'm just searing each side for a few minutes until it looks kind of brown. Now, I did transfer my meatballs to a separate dish. I'm sure you could probably keep them in that same cast iron skillet, but I didn't want all of that extra grease, and I was afraid that my sauce would burn to the skillet. So I'm just going to get all of these meatballs, add it to my dish, and then I'm going to pour the sauce over the top. To go along with those meatballs, I'm also going to be making some Brussels sprouts. So to my mixing bowl, I just added in the Brussels sprouts. Obviously, I get the kind in a bag from Walmart that is already trimmed and halved. And then I just drizzled that with some olive oil and seasoned it with some simple salt and pepper. I tossed that to coat and then added it to my air fryer basket. And I'm just going to cook those at 360 degrees for 15 minutes. And here is everything plated up. Those meatballs were really yummy, but I doubt that I would ever make them again because it was just too big of a pain. I'll probably just stick to a regular meatloaf. And the Brussels sprouts turned out perfect. I love the little brown crispy leaves. Those are my favorite. And then I also just made a box of Velveeta shells and cheese. Saturday was one of my best friend's baby showers, so they grilled out and I had a cheeseburger, pasta salad, and watermelon, and I just had to show off these adorable little sunflower cupcakes. On Sunday, I took one large chicken breast and sliced it into 3 thinner pieces, and I let it marinate in the fridge for several hours in this Lawry's Baja Chipotle marinade, and then I just cooked that out on the grill, and then when it came off the grill, I topped it with some queso cheese dip. I'm using this one by Ponchos, I don't know, but I just heated that up in the microwave, and then I also made some homemade Mexican rice. If you're interested, I will have a link to it down in my description box, as well as a link to an older video that I made showing how I put that together. And then I also just have some guacamole that I made up real quick with some chips on the side. This is one of my favorite meals ever. Absolutely love it. But that is going to wrap up this week. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.